And Doubtfire, I mean, what can I say about Robin? He was so funny, so kind, just the loveliest guy.
He's Robin. It's just so much fun. You never get bored.
Robin Williams once brought the entire set to a complete halt because of a detail that no one else noticed: Sally Field's eyes. While everyone continued to prepare the scene, he stepped out, interrupted the process, and took the initiative to take Sally off the set. At that time, her father had just passed away. He saw what others did not see and acted immediately. 30 years later, Sally tells this story. It is not an anecdote, nor is it a made-up story. It is a true, brief glimpse into a Robin Williams that very few people know.
Background, action! What do you think of this?
A suit? That's nice.
I'm getting good at this. I can become a woman in less than 5 minutes.
In the midst of filming Mrs. Doubtfire in 1993, Sally Field received news that her father had suddenly died. On set, everything was running as scheduled. The lights were on. The cameras were ready. The props were unchanged.
Our hairstylist Yolanda Tusing prepares Robin for makeup by slicking down his hair, putting in bobby pins, and then applying what we call a wig cap.
But Robin Williams walked up, silently observed her for a few minutes, then went straight to director Chris Columbus. He asked to stop all of Sally's scenes, to postpone everything. Columbus agreed, then Williams returned. Without saying much, just said, "We have to get her out of here." Sally left the set immediately. When she returned, she found that the filming schedule had been rescheduled so she could spend time with her family. There was no one negotiating for her. No strings attached, just a man standing in the middle of the set, making the right decision when it mattered most. Nearly 3 decades later, in an interview with Vanity Fair in August 2024, Sally mentioned this incident. She clarified, "I've never told this before. Robin knew right away that I was not okay. He stopped acting. He pulled me off the set, looked at me very directly, and did it. I didn't need to explain. He saw." With just one act, Robin Williams established a very personal standard. Kindness must come before everything else, even in a movie with a budget of tens of millions of dollars. The event was more than just a touching story. It shattered the popular stereotype of Robin Williams, that of a carefree comedian, always in a state of excitement and improvisation.
How could I do this to me? No grief, then jealousy, then slapping myself around, hitting myself all over the place.
There were no jokes, no light-hearted banter, just the right care, at the right time, in the right way, with the right person. A clip of Sally, speaking on a talk show in 2025, has gone viral on social media. In the video, she pauses when talking about Robin, then says very clearly, "I don't think any of us have ever seen Robin like this. So few words, so precise, so perceptive. He knows how people feel before they do, more than just a personal gesture." Robin Williams' actions had a profound impact on the entire crew. A Mrs. Doubtfire production assistant who was on set that day told EW that the set was nearly silent when Sally left. Everyone understood what was going on, and why Robin did it. It gave him a level of respect that no other star has. It is through such actions that Robin Williams is remembered for more than just his great roles. Those who worked with him have their own memories of how he behaved behind the scenes. For Sally Field, that memory is so clear that it needs no explanation. That is why she chose to keep the story for 30 years, only telling it when she felt the time was right for the public to see Robin more fully. Sally's decision to go public with her story now was also particularly timely, in a climate of heightened media scrutiny of how celebrities treat their co-workers and backstage staff. Her story stands as a stark contrast to much of the negative focus. No one asked Sally to tell it, but when she did, the specifics made the industry listen. This story made the public see Robin in a different light, not just as a groundbreaking comedian, not just as a childhood icon, but as someone who knew how to act when no one expected it. And that's just a glimpse into how he operated on set. From the first day of filming Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams set an unusual pace. He didn't just act. He turned each scene into an improvisational stage show, leaving the entire crew both stunned and forced to adapt. Sally Field recalled that Robin tried to make her laugh in every scene, but failed. "I didn't react. I stayed in character. He tried every trick, non-stop," she said. Sally's composure became a kind of test that haunted Robin for weeks of filming. The surprise came during a restaurant scene. While Robin was juggling lines, Pierce Brosnan, who played Miranda's new boyfriend, suddenly made a farting noise with his hand under the table. It was the only time Sally Field laughed during the scene. Robin immediately turned to tease her on the spot. "So, this is how you make her laugh. I use every tool in the world, and he just uses a ventriloquist." The crew laughed. The scene was later reshot, but the real moment became an inside legend. Robin never did the same scene twice. He improvised with each take, using new jokes, new dialogue, even creating new characters within the role. Director Chris Columbus once said that he kept the camera rolling, not for technique, but to keep up with Robin's pace. The scripted shots were just the frame. The real energy came from Robin's improvisation and how the people around him reacted to him. Matthew Lawrence, who plays Sally Field's eldest son, once shared a scene in the film that was originally supposed to be a simple party. But Robin turned it into a dance party, with music playing, tables pushed aside, and the whole cast of kids getting into it. "I was shooting, and Robin jumped on the table and said, 'Let's dance!' And there was no stopping. It wasn't acting, it was real." Matthew said in a 2025 podcast, "No one on set left the set without a memory of a joke Robin came up with on the spot." Lisa Jacob, who plays the older daughter, says they sometimes reshot the same scene 5 times because Robin refused to repeat the same joke. "He kept you on your toes. There was no safe path. You didn't know what was coming next, but you knew you were going to laugh." Mara Wilson, the child actress who played the youngest child, recalled that Robin would place a strange toy on her prop chair every morning. Never again. When asked why, Robin simply said, "A good actor needs surprises. Small, but consistent and intentional." Chris Columbus once commented, "Robin is not just the lead actor. He is the engine that drives the whole film." And thanks to that, many of the comedy scenes are kept in their most raw, unedited form, because nothing is more real than the real reactions from Sally, Pierce, or the kids when they are confronted with something Robin has just made up on the spot. These laughs are created in an environment that is unpredictable, highly structured. It's Robin's control of chaos that makes him a true genius on set. Something we'll explore in more detail below. Working with genius. Robin Williams didn't follow the usual production structure. He wasn't interested in shooting every line of dialogue in the script. He wanted to create real reactions, real emotions, and an atmosphere that never repeated itself. When shooting Mrs. Doubtfire, the crew used more than 2 million feet of film, a rare amount for a family comedy. Director Chris Columbus confirmed that there were at least 972 boxes of unused footage, mostly improvisations of Robin's various takes on each scene. What's remarkable is that this improvisation is not disorganized. On the contrary, Robin operates it as a system. Every detail is intentional. He arrives on set well before call time, sits down with the makeup team, chats with the sound department, and greets each of the backstage crew. He learns their names, uses them during filming, and sometimes even inserts them into the film's dialogue when it seems appropriate. It makes the entire crew feel like they're part of the creative process, not just a star's backroom boy. Sally Field calls it kind calculation. Robin works as if he's responsible for the mood of every person on the team, she says. And he does. If someone looks tired, he finds a way to make them laugh. If someone's nervous, he stops everything to talk privately. There's no set formula for this, but it happens every day. Robin's initiative also extended to controlling the mood of the shoot. If a scene was starting to feel stale, he would suggest changes to camera angles, character positions, and even dialogue. In one kitchen scene, when Mrs. Doubtfire is caught removing her beard, Robin suggested adding a more crude touch, slamming her face, covered in whipped cream, into the table. It wasn't in the script, but it became one of the most iconic images of the film. Pierce Brosnan once said that he could never predict what a day on set would bring. But the one thing he was certain of was this: Robin would get everyone in the right mood for the scene. No need for a mood coordinator, no dry direction. Robin led with his actions and atmosphere. Lisa Jacob, as a teenager, was expelled from school for skipping classes to participate in a film shoot. Robin, knowing about it, wrote a private letter to the school, asking them to let her continue her studies remotely, assuring her that she was learning valuable things that were not in the curriculum. The letter did not help Jacob return to school, but it did make her realize that Robin valued her not just as a co-star, but as a person growing up in a complex environment. The act was kept secret for many years. It was only when Jacob brought it up that the public learned about another side of Robin, one who refused to see others judged as narrow-minded just because they were artists. Even when he wasn't filming, Robin continued to act not for the audience, but for those around him. Matthew Lawrence says that between takes, Robin would often sit and doodle on the script, creating mini-comics based on each member of the costume department's character. When asked why, Robin said, "If I make them remember that they're part of the story, then I've done the right thing." Those experiences not only made the film special, they also left a lasting impression on the cast, especially Sally Field, who has the clearest memories of a very different person behind the camera, a real partner. Sally Field doesn't talk about her former co-star often, but when she talks about Robin Williams, her voice changes. There's a slowness to her delivery, as if each word needs to be carefully placed. She doesn't use flowery words, doesn't embellish. Her descriptions of Robin are precise, almost etched. At the 2023 SAG Awards, when she accepted her Lifetime Achievement Award, Sally mentioned Robin without any lead-in. "I'll always remember him," she said. "There's not a scene in Mrs. Doubtfire where I don't feel his presence. Robin is Robin, loving, creative, and kind to the core." It wasn't a prepared speech. It was a heartfelt statement, delivered in a formal setting and under the spotlight. The bond between Sally Field and Robin Williams did not come from private meetings or shared vacations. They were not close friends in the traditional sense. They did not keep in touch after the film, but when they were on set together, they knew how the other operated. Sally once described Robin as in a constant state of flux, always changing, always moving forward, and therefore requiring her co-star to be alert to keep up. She did not feel overwhelmed. On the contrary, the intensity made her more focused. In 2008, they met again at a veterans' rights event at the Beverly Hilton. They appeared briefly, without making any big announcements, but in a photo that was captured by the media. Robin stood next to Sally, his hand lightly touching her shoulder as they both laughed. It was not a theatrical moment. It was the kind of interaction between two people who had shared a tense and stressful creative space, but who had maintained a lasting respect. In the years since Robin's passing, Sally has often referred to him as something that hasn't quite gone away. "I still think of him as if he's still there," she told People in early 2024. Not that he was, but that he is. No script could ever capture that truth. It's a feeling that only comes when a person leaves a real mark. beyond the confines of a career. Sally Field was more than just a co-star. She was a close-up observer of Robin, who knew that his visceral reactions weren't just for laughs. They were his way of dealing with the stress, depression, and isolation he never expressed publicly. She didn't analyze, she didn't diagnose. But in interviews, Sally often recounted the quiet moments between takes when Robin would sit alone, stare at the floor, then spring up as if he had never been tired. She didn't ask him why, she just stood by, waiting for the next take. Their relationship was drama-free. It was professional, but full of trust, which is why when Robin stepped in to help Sally take time off from filming to attend her father's funeral, she wasn't surprised. "I knew he would do it if he saw what I needed," she says. He always picked up on things that people didn't say. For the younger actors in the troupe, Robin was the leader. For Sally, he was the creative counterweight, someone who pushed the boundaries of every scene, forcing you to be true to your character and yourself. That seriousness wasn't expressed through orders or reminders. It came from Robin's strong presence and the way he made it impossible for you to act superficially. Those silences become even more evident when looking back at the entire journey of Robin, an artist who is both an icon and a person who carries silent conflicts throughout his life, which will be revealed in more detail below. Glory and darkness. Robin Williams died in August 2014 at the age of 63. The cause of death was initially reported to the public as suicide after a period of depression. But after an autopsy, doctors determined that he had a rare neurological condition, Lewy body dementia. This is a disorder that causes hallucinations, movement disorders, and cognitive decline, often mistaken for Parkinson's. Robin was not properly diagnosed while he was alive. He felt like he was changing, but could not explain it. Those close to him said he was always afraid that he would lose control of his mind. None of this was mentioned on set. During the filming of Mrs. Doubtfire, no one could see any signs of anything amiss. Robin remained the center of the crew's energy. But later, in retrospect, many of his colleagues began to notice small details like the way he would fall silent when he wasn't acting, or the faraway look he would get after long bursts of laughter. Sally Field doesn't elaborate, but she remembers those moments clearly. "I never thought of Robin as a happy person," she once said. "I thought of him as someone who was very in touch with his emotions, even the painful ones." That image hasn't always been universally accepted. In recent years, some cultural analysts have argued that Mrs. Doubtfire's Daniel Hillard, the husband who disguises himself as a maid to get close to his children, was an invasion of privacy. Some have called the character's actions disturbing. But Robin's co-stars have dismissed that view. They say the character is inseparable from the kindness of the person who portrayed him. Sally Field shared about it in a 2024 interview. Robin never plays to control anyone. He plays to connect. The character may be strange, but the way he approaches it is always based on emotion. Director Chris Columbus also made it clear that if the role had been given to someone else, the film might not have felt as relatable. At a retrospective event held in Los Angeles in 2024, a number of Robin Williams' former co-stars gathered to reflect on his enduring legacy, not just as a performer, but as a person. The atmosphere was filled with warmth, laughter, and quiet moments of remembrance, as those who had shared the screen with him recalled the countless ways he had touched their lives. Pierce Brosnan, who worked with Robin on Mrs. Doubtfire, described him as the heart of the set, noting that Robin had a way of lifting the spirits of everyone around him, whether cameras were rolling or not. Brosnan spoke of Robin's instinctive generosity, the kind that didn't need to be performed or publicized. "You always felt seen by him," Brosnan said. "He could be in the middle of improvising something brilliant, but he'd still notice if someone in the corner of the room looked like they needed a laugh." Mara Wilson, who was just a child when she starred alongside Robin, recalled a moment that remained with her well into adulthood, after a particularly emotional scene that had left her visibly shaken. Robin was the only one who came over to ask if she was okay, not as a co-star, but as a caring adult who genuinely wanted to make sure she felt safe. "He treated me like a human being, not just a kid actor," she said, her voice quiet with emotion. Lisa Jacob, who also appeared in Mrs. Doubtfire, shared that Robin was one of the first people to make her feel like her voice mattered. "I was just a teenager, and most people in the industry didn't really treat us like we had much to offer creatively," she said. "But Robin would listen to your ideas. He made you feel like an artist, not just someone there to hit their mark. If the above makes you feel closer to a person who was once loved by the whole world, leave a comment, share this video with those who have watched Mrs. Doubtfire, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next stories."